Okay, I'm happy to announce that finally there's a version 2.0 of MIAP, and most importantly, it supports native Max editing and authoring of maps. So you don't have to go outside and use Meyer's QStation software to create maps and edit maps anymore and then import them. You can still do that if you want to, but now you can author them, edit them, do everything inside of Max within this suite of objects, which is that's the most significant update. And I'm going to focus on that in a second video, but first I just want to quickly go over what's new, what's different, and then we'll get into that exciting map stuff. So let's see. One significant thing is that the MIAP.map external, which converts Dimitri and Matrix 3 maps and trajectories into the JSON format that the MIAP externals take, that is now building for Windows. So that's part of the package, is you have all four objects for Mac and for Windows now. And then there's a few notable updates aside from the map creation that we should talk through. Let's see, first I just want to say that there's reference documentation for this. The help patches, examples patches, all of that stuff has been updated. But also if you go to extras, MIAP overview, it'll open up a patch that is a launch spot for going to the help files or also the XML documentation. So we've got an overview doc that also links to the objects and all of the example patches and cross-links to everything else. One of those pages being a page that talks about the different elements of the maps and some information about how barycentric panning works with trisets. And then there's a tutorials, and all this stuff is cross-linked as well, but tutorials which takes you to the YouTube videos that are also on the website for all this stuff. There's going to be some new ones for map authoring in this video in addition to all of the other ones. And I'm leaving all that, even though there have been a few updates, I'm leaving all that other stuff intact, and almost everything that was up there before applies to this new version. Okay, so XML documentation. Let's look at the MIAP object. So one thing to know is I'm actually opening the MIAP.map help file, and let me, a big thing is that the outputting of the gains has updated, and let me load a map here first so you can see. So it used to be that the gains, and let me print the gains actually here so you can see them in the Max window. It used to be that the gains were output in an interleaved list of channel number gain pairs. And that's gone away now, and they were always packed to the left so that if you had a map that had non-contiguous nodes, like this is an example, this is a channel 1, channel 5, and channel 6, it would just pack them to the left, and it would prepend the channel number before each gain so that you could parse it and understand it. Now, rather than do that, I just have a list of gains, and I'm inserting 0 gains for any, the location within the list tells you the channel number, and if that channel isn't part of either of the maps that are loaded in map A or map B, then it's just going to have a 0 gain. So you can see that here as an example. This has we have 6 channels in total, but only 3 of them are specified. So you get the second, third, and fourth gains being 0. So that's a significant update. Just a little bit more efficient. Also has some implications on the MSP object that we'll talk about in a second. Yeah, so that's one thing. Actually, let's just go to the MSP one now. If I can get there. Here we go. Okay. So for the MIAP tilde version of the object, that now comes in both a discrete traditional signal outlet version and a single multi-channel outlet version. The difference there is really whether you specify this now optional second argument. The first argument is the name of the map. This is always there before. The GUI object also needs to reference this. Click a buffer namespace. And the second one is the maximum number of if you supply it and it's valid, that will tell you the number of signal outlets that it's to support. If you don't supply it, if you have no second argument, then it's going to assume that it's whatever the channel count that you're dealing with is going to be output via MC signal patch cord. So that's a difference. It gives you a little bit more flexibility to some degree to then parse that multi-channel output, deal with maps that are where you may not know the number of channels ahead of time in some situations possibly. So we've got that, and the logic for the max object still applies here as well. It used to be that, let me load in a map, let me load in that same map here. So this is that non-contiguous map where you've got channel 1, channel 5, and channel 6. It used to be that that would pack to the left, so it would be the first outlet would be channel 1, second would be 5, third would be 6. If that was all that was available in any of the maps loaded into this object, it would just pack them to the left. And you could print the gains and the information informationally out of the right outlet. If I click report, and I also toggle this so that I actually send it to a print, it will print the gains. And but that's no longer the case. So just like with the max objects, it applies a zero gain to any, in this case it's panning the signal, so I've got white noise in here just so we can see it, and just like you saw with the max objects, it's going to be panning and outputting out of the first, fifth, and sixth signal outlets. If I do that same thing, and just like before, if the map references a channel that is beyond, in this case, the 24 channels, let's do that. I'm going to load in this 79 channel map. We could see that a bunch of these things are beyond 20. See, it's 25, 30. This is just ignored. It reports the gains out of the info outlet, but it's not going to pan anything it doesn't have outlets for. So that is a little different with the multi-channel version. Let's go to the multi-channel version. So with this one, there's no map loaded in right now. So it just by default outputs a single channel out of the multi-channel outlet of zeros. Nothing's going to change that. Let me load in a map, that same non-continuous map, so we can see what happens here. So something to note here is that in order for the channel count to update with the multi-channel version, I've got to toggle the DAC. All right, so now it gives me that same result as in the other tab. We've got 6 channels, and only the channel 1, channel 5, and channel 6 have gains applied. All right, so let me load up another map, like we did from before. Toggle the DAC again so that it can update the channel count. And now it will give me all the channels because we're dealing with a single multi-channel patch cord. So that's, let's see, those are the main differences. And another important difference is that the MIAP.map object used to, let me unlock this, it used to require that you connect the output of it to the input of one of the panner objects, or any of the panner objects with the same namespace. And that is no longer the case. It now wirelessly communicates. But I still kept all the messaging intact so that you can print it, and the reason I did that is because it is using all of essentially the scripting language, or the messaging syntax for the panner objects are just implemented here. So in the next video, when we talk about authoring a map, let me do something real quick. For example, like if I want to create a node, it will output the message that it sent to the panner object, and this message is in the help files and in the reference files. This is just the scripting language for creating a map. So all of the functionality that exists now intuitively from a UI perspective was basically all there before. You could procedurally create maps by sending messages. Now it's just intuitive through the mouse. So I kept that stuff so you could still see what's happening and you can learn from it, possibly save it and use it. But you don't need to, nor should you connect the outlets to the inlets of the panner objects, or you're just going to you'll get some complaining about the nodes already being there, or if you created or deleted because it was sent wirelessly. And that's it. So there's a few other odds and ends. You can check them out in the change log. You can look in the reference docs. All the patches have been improved a little bit. There's a bunch of new stuff for colors, and the look and feel of it has been expanded just a little bit. And like I said, there's reference stuff. Each of the help files will give us let's open the reference here. Uh, yeah, so I have some snippets as well that you can copy from each of the help files just as an easy starting place. It's a subset of what's in the help patch just to get you going. So that's a nice detail. And also information about all the attributes and arguments that is, beyond what we're talking about in the video. But we've covered the important things. So next video will be how to make and edit and author maps with MIAP.map. And I'll put a link for this to that video in this video, and it'll be part of the Max playlist.